Okay, so before I start, I just want to say, so as Alex said, I'm from America, so I'm going to be saying Gen Z a lot. I know you guys say Gen Z. It's the same meaning, okay? Okay. The global climate crisis. Inevitable, unprecedented, irreversible. Rapid glacier melt. Rising temperatures across the world. The end of life as we know it if we don't change things now. These are some of the headlines that I've been reading over the last couple of months. Now step into my life for a second. As a 17-year-old, I'm supposed to be planning for the rest of my life. But instead, I have to grapple with the fact that in just a couple of years, I may be looking at the end of life as we know it. Now think about this. If the existing climate science is right, in 10 years, large portions of the land in the world may become uninhabitable, meaning that even those countries that are not affected will be dealing with a refugee climate crisis. In 30 years, 70% of the populations won't have adequate food, meaning that my family and I may be one of those 70%. And in 50 years, if the trends of today continue, my generation and humanity overall will be on the verge of extinction. Do you see my problem? I hope so. Because based on what I've read online, and even through my own interactions as an entrepreneur, I've realized that Gen Z voices aren't being heard nearly as much as they should be by people across the world and even global leaders. This is what I call the youth dilemma. Now, the youth dilemma spans far beyond just climate change, and it affects problems all across the world. Let me explain. Gen Z, my generation, we've grown up around technology. We can use it to send messages, meet new people online, play games, and really so much more. But more importantly, what we can do is we can use it more effectively and broadly to create an impact. Here's an example. In 2018, a group of 1,000 high school students from the United States took to the streets to protest gun violence. Their movement and their leaders were described by the New York Times as eloquent young voices, writing a resolve as yet untouched by cynicism. Another example is of Gitanjali Rao, who a few years ago created a piece of technology called Tethys, which tests lead levels in water. And now she's working on Kindly, a platform that uses AI to detect cyberbullying at an early age. Now, these two examples are just a glimpse of the impact Gen Z can have. But there were so many more names out there that I'm not naming, that I can't name because they're too afraid to make that impact, or they're too afraid that their voices won't be heard. This is such a waste of human potential and human capital. We have so much more potential in this. Now, you may be thinking, doesn't every generation come and make an impact? And you'd be right. Every generation does. But here's the difference with Gen Z. Gen Z, we're making an impact at a young age because we have to for our future. If we don't make changes today, and if we don't make progress towards a solution today, we may not have a tomorrow to look forward to. That's the difference. But here's the dilemma. If we're not invited to these problem-solving solutions or these conferences of leadership, we won't be able to share our ideas and share that perspective that we've gained as Gen Zers and as people that have grown up with technology. What we're often told is wait your turn, wait a couple of years, wait till you get through college. And those arguments, they may have worked 10, 20, 30 years ago. But with the internet and the wealth of information at our fingertips, now we know much more than people our age did even 10 years ago. Now, if you're just realizing the impact of Gen Z and how important it can be, there are a couple solutions you can take to solve this problem. We still have time. The first is if you're a global leader across the world for a nonprofit, a government, a company, there is something you can do, and that's to take inventory. Take a step back and look into your company. Are you employing Gen Zers? Are you listening to Gen Zers? Now, they don't have to be 25, 26 years old. Myself, I'm 17, and I can go out and provide a valuable perspective. So if you do have Gen Zers, find out a way to include them more. And if not, figure out a way to recruit them to your company because I'm telling you, it'll help you in the long run. Another example is there are many youth organizations out there that are passionate about their own causes. I personally know dozens of youth founders that are activists for climate change, racial injustice, or really so many other problems. Reach out to these organizations, work with them, because they can provide a perspective that is invaluable and that people that of not our age won't be able to provide. Going further, create a challenge, create a competition, create a space that we can talk about youth problems. Without this type of space, there are many people that I know personally that are discouraged to speak out and to make an impact, to try to even make an impact. More of these events and more of these places that we can talk and provide our opinions, provide our perspective, can go a long way in increasing Gen Z engagement. Finally, if you're not a global leader, if you're not a leader of a company, organization, if you're an adult overall and you have kids at home, take a step back and talk to them. Because whatever the case, they're still Gen Zers. They've grown up with the same perspective as I and so many of the other speakers today have. They will probably also be passionate about a cause, and they may have some opinions about current events. Learn those opinions and see how they think, where they come from. Now, if you're a Gen Zer today, listening to this talk, there are many things you can still do. And even if you're quiet right now and you're not, and you maybe even if you're passionate about a cause but you're too scared to talk about it, make your voice heard. Events like these are popping up more and more. And if we can, the more Gen Z voices that are heard today, the closer we are to solve some of these problems that are affecting us overall. Now, psychologist Keith Sawyer, he has a quote that I really liked. His quote is, "The way you look at the world determines how creative you can be." And when I was writing this speech, that really connected with me, and I thought I would include it here. Because global leaders here, all across the world, have grown up 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. So their perspectives are completely different than the perspectives of us Gen Zers. And our perspectives can add to their creativity, so that when they go back to solve some of these world's pressing problems like climate change, they'll have a little bit more of a perspective, and they'll be able to solve it easier. Here's the thing. If we make some of these changes, if we present a solution, and if we include more Gen Zers, things can change. In 10 years, instead of large portions of land being uninhabitable, maybe those lands will be prosperous. In 30 years, instead of 70% of the population not having adequate food, maybe that number goes down to 5 or even 0. And in 50 years, instead of our humanity or our generation being on the verge of extinction, maybe we'll be the best we've ever been. Just imagine.